The Advanced Strategic Assessment Program turned out to be something much bigger than Maya had imagined. 3 days after her meeting with Commandant Vexhai, she found herself aboard the heavy cruiser Stellar Guardian, heading toward the outer rim territories where real conflict still simmered. Admiral Sarah Chen commanded the ship, a human officer who had graduated from the academy 20 years earlier. She was the first human to achieve flag rank in the Galactic Defense Force, and Maya felt intimidated meeting her. "So you're the cadet who's been turning the academy upside down," Admiral Chen said when Maya reported to her ready room. The Admiral was shorter than Maya had expected, with graying hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. "Yes, ma'am." "Good. It's about time someone challenged their assumptions." Admiral Chen gestured for Maya to sit across from her desk. "Tell me, what do you think of Academy Tactical Doctrine?" Maya hesitated, remembering how her previous critiques had been received. "It's very thorough, ma'am, but it assumes all enemies will fight the same way." "Exactly. And that assumption is about to be tested." Admiral Chen activated a holographic display showing a star system Maya didn't recognize. 3 planets orbited. A yellow star with asteroid belts and gas giants further out. "The Kepler Gamma system," Admiral Chen explained. "For the past 6 months, shipping convoys have been attacked by unknown raiders. The attacks follow no pattern that our tactical analysts can identify. Ships appear from nowhere, strike with devastating effectiveness, then vanish completely." "Pirates?" Maya asked. "That's what we thought initially. But these aren't random raids for cargo. The attackers target specific ships, take nothing of obvious value, and seem more interested in testing our responses than stealing goods." Maya studied the tactical data streaming across the display. "They're studying us." "Our conclusion as well. Every defense patrol we send follows standard academy procedures. Every convoy escort uses textbook formations. We might as well be broadcasting our intentions. So you want me to do something unpredictable?" Admiral Chen smiled grimly. "I want you to think like a Deathworlder, Cadet Rodriguez. These raiders are using tactics our conventional forces can't counter. Maybe it takes unconventional thinking to defeat unconventional enemies." The plan was both simple and terrifying. Maya would command a small squadron of volunteers using whatever tactics she deemed appropriate to defend the next convoy through Kepler Gamma. She would have complete tactical authority, with Admiral Chen monitoring from a safe distance. Maya's squadron consisted of 4 ships. 2 light cruisers, a destroyer, and a fast attack craft. Her volunteer crew included Dexmore, Lisa Park, and surprisingly Chris Talex, who had requested transfer from his original assignment. "Why did you volunteer for this?" Maya asked Chris Talex as they prepared for departure. "Because you were right," the crystal being admitted reluctantly. "During the simulation, your tactics worked when mine failed. If there truly are enemies out there who don't follow conventional patterns, then perhaps we need to learn unconventional responses." The convoy they were assigned to protect consisted of 6 cargo ships carrying medical supplies to the outer colonies. According to intelligence reports, the raiders typically attacked during the transit through the system's asteroid belt, where sensor shadows provided natural concealment. Maya studied the previous attack patterns for hours, looking for something the Academy analysts had missed. The raids were indeed unpredictable in their timing and approach vectors, but Maya began to see subtle patterns that reminded her of something. "They're hunting," she told her crew during the final briefing. "Not like military units conducting operations, but like predators stalking prey." "Explain," said Dexmore. "Look at the attack data. They never commit to prolonged engagements. They strike fast, cause maximum damage, and withdraw before reinforcements can arrive. That's not military thinking. That's survival instinct. Lisa. Park frowned at the tactical display. You think they're from a death world, too? I think they're from somewhere that taught them to fight like we do. Unconventionally. Maya's squadron took position around the convoy using formations that would have horrified Academy instructors. Instead of protective spheres or layered defense patterns, she scattered her ships throughout the convoy in seemingly random positions. To conventional tactical thinking, it looked like chaos. But Maya wasn't thinking conventionally. She positioned her ships based on hunting patterns she had learned growing up in Earth's dangerous cities. Predators looked for easy targets, isolated, prey, and escape routes. Maya's formation denied them all three. The attack came 6 hours into their transit through the asteroid belt. Maya's sensors detected the raiders emerging from concealment among the larger asteroids, exactly as previous reports had described. But this time, instead of finding a predictably arranged convoy with escorts in standard formation, the raiders found chaos. Maya's ships weren't where conventional tactics said they should be. When the raiders tried to isolate and attack individual cargo ships, they found themselves caught in crossfire from multiple directions. When they attempted to withdraw to their concealment positions, they discovered Maya had anticipated their escape routes. All ships, execute pattern Delta, Maya ordered over the communications channel. Her squadron began moving in what looked like random directions, but Maya had planned every maneuver. They were herding the raiders, forcing them away from the convoy and into an area where the asteroids would work against them instead of providing cover. The lead raider ship fired on one of the cargo vessels, but Maya's destroyer was already in position to intercept. The attack failed, and suddenly the raiders found themselves under coordinated fire from directions they hadn't expected. "They're trying to break off," reported Kristalex from his position in the second cruiser. "Let them," Maya replied, "but follow at a distance. I want to see where they go." The raider ships accelerated toward what appeared to be empty space, but Maya's sensors detected the subtle gravitational signatures of a hidden base built into a large asteroid. As the raiders approached their sanctuary, Maya sprang her final. "Trap! All ships! Converge on coordinates 77 Alpha! Full speed!" Maya's squadron emerged from concealment positions she had established hours earlier. While the raiders had been focused on attacking the convoy, Maya had quietly positioned ships around their likely escape routes. The raiders found themselves trapped between Maya's pursuing ships and their own base, unable to retreat without exposing their hidden facility. "Unknown vessels, this is Admiral Chen aboard the Stellar Guardian," came a transmission on all frequencies. "You are surrounded by Galactic Defense Force units. Surrender immediately." For a moment, Maya thought the raiders might try to fight their way out. Then the lead ship's communication systems activated. "This is Captain Marcus Webb of the Terran Resistance Fleet," came a voice with a distinctly human accent. "We surrender." The revelation that the raiders were human sent shockwaves through the defense force. Captain Webb and his crew were refugees from a failed colony world, driven to piracy by circumstances and desperation. But more importantly, they had been using Earth-developed tactics that conventional galactic forces couldn't counter. "Your people fought well," Captain Webb told Maya during the interrogation aboard the Stellar Guardian. "Most Defense Force units are so predictable that we could plan our escapes before we even started attacking." "Why did you surrender when my squadron arrived?" Maya asked. Webb smiled grimly. "Because you fought like us, unpredictably. We recognize the patterns because we use the same ones. When we realized the Defense Force had finally learned to think like humans, we knew our raiding days were over. The implications went far beyond one group of raiders." Admiral Chen's report to Galactic Command pointed out that human tactical thinking had succeeded where conventional doctrine had failed for months. If there were other unconventional enemies out there, the galaxy needed officers who could think unconventionally in response. Within weeks, Maya found herself back at the academy, but with a very different role. Instead of being dismissed as a disruptive cadet, she was appointed as an assistant instructor in a new program called Asymmetric Warfare Studies. The program attracted cadets from across the galaxy who were tired of losing simulations to predictable tactics. Maya taught them to see patterns differently, to think like hunters rather than soldiers, to use their enemies' expectations against them. Kyle Morrison and Lisa Park became her first formal students, followed by Dex Moore and eventually even Chris Talix. The Crystal Noble had discovered that unconventional thinking didn't mean abandoning honor, but rather expanding the definition of what honorable victory could look like. The galaxy is changing, Commandant Vexhai told Maya during her graduation ceremony 6 months later. For centuries, we maintained peace through predictable military doctrine. But if there are enemies out there who don't follow our rules, we need officers who can adapt. Maya stood at attention as the Commandant pinned the insignia of a Defense Force lieutenant on her uniform. Around her, hundreds of cadets and instructors watched the ceremony. Lieutenant Rodriguez, your new assignment will be to establish similar training programs at Defense Force academies throughout the galaxy. The debriefing room felt like a courtroom. Maya sat at a metal table facing a panel of 5 academy instructors, including Admiral Threndox and Commandant Vexhai. Her teammates sat in chairs along the wall, looking uncomfortable. Cadet Rodriguez, Admiral Threndox began, his multiple voices creating an intimidating harmony. Your actions during the simulation were highly irregular. Yes, sir, Maya replied, keeping her voice steady. You abandoned your assigned position, ignored direct orders from your team leader, and attempted a maneuver that any competent pilot would consider suicide. Yes, sir. And yet, Commandant Vexhai interjected, his crystal form reflecting the room's lights in shifting patterns, your team achieved mission success when conventional tactics had failed. The instructors exchanged glances that Maya couldn't interpret. Admiral Threndox activated a holographic display showing Maya's flight path through the asteroid field. Explain your decision-making process, he commanded. Maya studied the display for a moment. The defending team had positioned their forces to cover the 3 main approach vectors. Every previous attack had used those same routes and failed. The only way to succeed was to attack from somewhere they weren't expecting. The asteroid field was marked as a navigation hazard, said Captain Veltar, the aquatic benthic instructor. Academy doctrine clearly states that combat operations should avoid such areas. Academy doctrine assumes that following the rules is more important than winning, Maya replied, then immediately regretted her words. The room went silent. Admiral Threndox's form darkened with what Maya had learned to recognize as anger in Zephyrians. Are you suggesting that Academy doctrine is flawed, Cadet? Maya felt sweat beading on her forehead despite the cool air. I'm suggesting that following predictable patterns makes you vulnerable to enemies who think differently. And what enemies would those be? Admiral Threndox asked. The galaxy has been at peace for over a century. When conflicts do arise, they are resolved through proper military channels using established tactical doctrine. What about the Vorthax-Zephyrian border wars? Maya asked. Those have been going on for 50 years. Commandant Vexhai's crystal form flickered. The border conflicts are limited engagements conducted according to strict military protocols. Both sides honor the rules of civilized warfare. Which is why they never end, Maya said. Both sides fight the same way, so neither can win. That is enough, Admiral Threndox snapped. Your success in one simulation does not qualify you to critique military doctrine developed over centuries. Maya looked around the room at the instructors' faces. She could see disapproval, concern, and something that might have been fear. Fear that a Deathworlder Cadet had just proven their carefully structured system wasn't as perfect as they believed. Permission to speak freely, sir? Admiral. Threndox's form pulsed with annoyance. Granted. Every enemy you've ever faced has been trained at this same academy, using the same textbooks, learning the same tactics. When everyone fights the same way, battles become contests of resources and technology rather than strategy. But what happens when you face an enemy who doesn't follow your rules? Such an enemy would be defeated by superior tactical doctrine, Captain Veltar stated firmly. Would they? Maya asked. Today I was that enemy. I didn't follow your rules and I won. The silence stretched uncomfortably. Maya could hear her teammates shifting in their chairs behind her. Finally, Commandant Vex High spoke. Cadet Rodriguez, your point is noted. However, warfare is not merely about victory. It is about honor, discipline, and the preservation of civilized values. Your methods, while effective, were reckless and dangerous. More dangerous than losing? Maya asked. That will be all, Cadet, Admiral Threndox said sharply. You are dismissed. Maya stood and saluted, then left the room with her teammates. In the corridor outside, Chrysotalex caught up with her. That was either very brave or very stupid, he said. Probably both, Maya admitted. Your flying was impressive, Chrysotalex continued reluctantly. I have never seen anyone navigate an asteroid field like that. Thanks. However, you still disobeyed direct orders. In a real combat situation, such insubordination could be catastrophic. Maya turned to face the tall crystal being. In a real combat situation, following failed tactics repeatedly would also be catastrophic. News of Team 7's victory spread quickly through the academy. Within days, Maya found herself the subject of intense curiosity and debate among the cadet population. Some viewed her asteroid field maneuver as brilliant innovation. Others saw it as dangerous recklessness that violated the principles of proper military conduct. The human cadets were split. Kyle Morrison approached Maya in the cafeteria a week after the simulation. You're making things difficult for all of us, he said, sitting down across from her. The instructors are starting to see humans as unpredictable and potentially dangerous. Maybe that's not a bad thing, Maya replied. Of course it's a bad thing. We're trying to prove that humans can be trusted with positions of responsibility in galactic civilization. Your stunt makes us look like loose cannons. Lisa Park, who had been quieter since the simulation, finally spoke up. Actually, Kyle, I think Maya proved something important. Which is that we don't have to accept failure just because everyone else does. Maya looked at Lisa with surprise. I thought you disagreed with what I did. I was scared, Lisa admitted. Following you through that asteroid field was terrifying, but it worked. And watching the instructors' reactions afterward made me realize something. What? They're scared too. Scared that everything they've been teaching might not be the only way to fight. Over the following weeks, Maya noticed changes in her classes. Instructors began including more scenarios involving irregular tactics. Admiral Threndox assigned readings on historical battles where unconventional strategies had succeeded. But the real change came from her fellow cadets. Younger students began approaching Maya with questions about alternative tactical thinking. Dexmore started an informal study group that met in unused classrooms to discuss scenarios the regular curriculum didn't cover. Even some alien cadets showed interest. Aqualon, the senior benthic who had tried the multi-vector assault in the Crucible demonstration, asked Maya to review his tactical plans. "Your approach in the asteroid field got me thinking," he said, his suit swirling with thoughtful patterns. "What if the reason our attacks failed wasn't lack of firepower, but lack of imagination?" Maya found herself becoming an unofficial consultant for cadets who were tired of losing simulations with textbook tactics. She helped a Vorthak team develop a strategy using sensor shadows to conceal their movements. She showed a group of Zephyrians how to use false retreats to draw enemies into ambushes. The results were dramatic. Simulation success rates among first and second-year cadets began climbing as teams incorporated unconventional elements into their planning. The instructors took notice. "Cadet Rodriguez, report to the Commandant's office immediately." Maya had been expecting this summons for weeks. She walked through the academy's corridors wondering if she was about to be expelled or commended. Commandant Vexhigh's office was larger than Maya had expected, with walls covered in tactical displays and historical battle maps. The crystal being stood before a massive window showing the stars beyond Zenith Station. "Sit," he commanded without turning around. Maya took the indicated chair and waited. "You have been causing quite a disturbance, Cadet Rodriguez." "Yes, sir." "Simulation results indicate a marked improvement in cadet performance over the past month. Success rates have increased by 37% across all year groups." "That's good news, sir." Commandant Vexhigh finally turned to face her. "Is it? These cadets are achieving success through methods not covered in academy curriculum, methods that violate established tactical doctrine. Methods that work, sir. Success in simulation is not the same as success in real warfare, Cadet. These unconventional tactics may achieve short-term gains, but they cannot be sustained against properly trained opponents." Maya leaned forward slightly. "With respect, sir, how would we know? When was the last time the Academy's tactics were tested against an enemy who hadn't been trained here?" The Commandant's crystal form went completely dark for several seconds. When the lights returned, they were a deep, thoughtful blue. "That is a very interesting question, Cadet Rodriguez." Commandant Vexhigh moved to his desk and activated a secure communications panel. "Admiral Chen, this is Commandant Vexhigh. I need to speak with you about the Advanced Strategic Assessment Program." Maya had never heard of that program, but something in the Commandant's tone made her pay attention. "Yes, Admiral, I believe we may have found our test subject." After a brief conversation that Maya couldn't fully follow, the Commandant closed the channel and looked at her directly. "Cadet Rodriguez, how would you like to participate in a special training program designed to test unconventional tactical approaches?" "What kind of program, sir?" "The kind that will determine whether your methods have any real value beyond simulation games." Maya felt her pulse quicken. "What would I have to do?" "Prove that Deathworlder tactics can work against opponents who have never seen them before. Opponents who were not trained at this academy." Team 7's first meeting took place in a small conference room that smelled like ozone and cleaning chemicals. Maya arrived early and found Chrysotalix already there, his crystal body pulsing with impatient red light. "I want it understood from the beginning," Crystalix announced as the others filed in, "that I will be leading this team. My family has commanded fleets for 12 generations." Dexmore's cloudy crystal form chimed softly as he took a seat. Of course, Crystalex. We're honored to serve under noble leadership. Maya caught the subtle sarcasm in Dexmore's tone, but Crystalex seemed oblivious to it. Lisa Park sat down next to Maya, still looking nervous about being assigned to a first-year competition team. The senior Zephyrian cadet, Zephron, flowed into the room like liquid mercury. When he spoke, his voice had the characteristic harmony of his species. The scenario has been released. We are to capture and hold mining station, Xerion against defending forces. The same scenario from the demonstrations, Maya noted. Indeed, said Crystalex, which means we have excellent examples to follow. Commander Calathy's approach was particularly elegant. Maya pulled up the tactical data on her tablet. Mining station Xerion sat in the middle of an asteroid field, with 3 main approach vectors and heavily fortified defensive positions. The defending team would have superior firepower and prepared positions. The attacking force had mobility and the advantage of choosing when and where to strike. Standard assault formation should work, Crystalex continued. We establish fire superiority, conduct preliminary bombardment, then advance in echelon formation to overwhelm their positions. That's exactly what 11 teams tried in the demonstration, Maya said carefully. 10 of them failed. Because they lacked proper leadership and coordination, Crystalex replied dismissively. With correct application of tactical principles, victory is assured. Dexmore's form flickered with colored lights. What about the asteroid field? It covers roughly 60% of the combat area. Asteroids are obstacles to be avoided, said Zephron in his harmonic voice. They interfere with sensor readings and weapons targeting. No competent commander would risk navigating such hazards during combat. Maya looked at the tactical display more carefully. The asteroid field was indeed extensive, filled with rocks, ranging from pebble size to mountain size. Navigation would be treacherous for ships designed for open space combat, but Maya had grown up in the South American Federation, where her family had worked the dangerous mining platforms in Earth's asteroid belt. She knew something the Academy cadets didn't. Asteroids weren't just obstacles. They were cover, concealment, and opportunities for those who knew how to use them. What if we don't avoid the asteroids? Maya asked. The room went quiet. Crystalax's crystal body flashed through several colors before settling on an angry orange. Absolutely not, he said. We will not risk our ships in such reckless maneuvering. This is a tactical exercise, not a demolition derby. But if we could navigate the field successfully— The discussion is closed, Crystalex interrupted. We use proven tactics: formation attack, maximum firepower concentration, overwhelming assault. Lisa, you will coordinate point defense. Dexmore, you handle fleet communications. Zephron manages fire control. Maya, you will observe and learn. Maya felt her cheeks burn, but she nodded. Understood. The meeting broke up with detailed planning for a conventional assault. Maya lingered as the others left, studying the tactical display. The asteroid field really did cover most of the combat area, creating a maze of hiding spots and concealment opportunities. More importantly, the defending team would expect any attack to come from the 3 clear approach vectors. They would position their forces accordingly, concentrating firepower to cover the obvious routes. But what if the attack came from somewhere else entirely? You're thinking something dangerous, Dexmore said from the doorway. Maya looked up to find him watching, her with interest rather than the dismissal she had grown used to from other cadets. Just wondering why we always have to do what everyone expects, Maya replied. Because it's safe, predictable, civilized. Dexmore moved closer to the display. But you're right about the asteroids. On my home colony, we navigate fields like this regularly. It's not as impossible as they think. Could you actually pilot ships through there? Probably. My people are good with spatial navigation, but Crystalix would never approve such a plan. Maya studied the display for a long moment. What if Crystalix didn't know about it until it was too late to stop? Dexmoor's crystal form went completely dark for several seconds. When the lights returned, they were a thoughtful blue. That would be insubordination. That would be initiative. The Academy doesn't reward initiative. It rewards following orders and established doctrine. The Academy also doesn't expect first-year cadets to beat second-year teams, Maya pointed out. Maybe this is our chance to try something different. Over the next 2 days, Maya watched Team 7 prepare for their conventional assault. Crystalix drilled them on formation flying, fire coordination, and textbook tactical maneuvers. They practiced the same approaches Maya had seen fail repeatedly in the demonstrations. Meanwhile, Maya spent her free time in the navigation simulators, learning to pilot ships through asteroid fields. The Academy's training programs included asteroid navigation as an advanced elective, mostly used by cadets planning careers in mining or exploration. Maya discovered that piloting through the rocks required completely different skills than open space combat. Instead of speed and firepower, success depended on patience, precision, and three-dimensional thinking. You had to see paths where others saw only obstacles. It reminded her of growing up in the crowded, dangerous cities of Earth. Survival meant finding routes through places others couldn't or wouldn't go. On the day of the competition, Team 7 took their positions in the simulation chamber. Maya sat at the backup pilot station, officially designated as an observer. Around them, dozens of other first-year teams prepared for their own scenarios. The simulation began with their team approaching mining station Zerion from the primary attack vector. Crystalix's formation was textbook perfect, and their advance proceeded exactly according to plan, for about 10 minutes. The defending team, commanded by a senior cadet named Alex Carter, had studied all the previous attempts carefully. They knew exactly what to expect from a conventional assault, and they were ready for it. Maya watched their carefully planned attack fall apart as the defenders concentrated overwhelming firepower on their predictable approach route. Within 15 minutes, Team 7 was down to half strength and falling back in disorder. "Regroup at Rally Point Alpha," Crystalix ordered, his voice tight with frustration. "We'll try a pincer movement from vectors 2 and 3. That's what the 6th team tried, Maya said over the comm. It didn't work either. "Do you have a better suggestion?" Crystalix snapped. Maya looked at her navigation display, showing the massive asteroid field that covered most of the combat area. "Actually, yes. Absolutely not. We are not throwing our ships away on some Deathworlder suicide run. Then we're going to lose," Maya said simply. The team regrouped and launched their pincer attack. It lasted 12 minutes before superior defensive firepower forced them to retreat again. They had lost 2 more ships and gained nothing. "Time remaining, 23 minutes, announced the simulation computer. Maya watched the tactical display as their remaining ships limped back to the rally point. The defenders were undamaged and confident, having repelled 2 conventional assaults exactly as they had planned. "One more attack," Crystalix declared. "Full frontal assault, everything we have." "That's exactly what they're expecting," Maya said. "It's our only option." "No, it isn't." Maya's hands moved over her console, bringing up the navigation controls. Without asking permission, she broke her ship away from the formation and accelerated toward the asteroid field. "Maya? What are you doing?" Lisa's voice came over the comm. "Something unexpected," Maya replied. "Get back in formation immediately," Crystalex ordered. But Maya was already threading her ship between the first asteroids, disappearing from the main tactical display as the rocks interfered with sensor readings. "You're going to get yourself killed," Zephron warned. "Maybe," Maya admitted, piloting carefully between two massive rocks. "But I'm definitely going to surprise them." She had studied the asteroid field layout carefully, identifying a path that would bring her ship around behind the mining station. It required flying through gaps barely wider than her ship, navigating by visual contact when sensors failed, and trusting her instincts when the computer guidance systems gave up. It was exactly the kind of flying that Academy doctrine said was impossible. Maya's ship emerged from the asteroid field directly behind mining station Zarion, where no defending ships were positioned because no sane pilot would attempt such an approach. She targeted the station's primary reactor and fired everything she had. The mining station's shields collapsed as explosions rippled across its hull. Alarms began wailing as the defending team realized they were under attack from an impossible direction. "How did she get back there?" Alex Carter's voice came over the general comm channel. Maya's ship disappeared back into the asteroid field. Before the defenders could react, she had proven that the impossible approach was not. 2 weeks into the semester, Maya had failed 7 simulations in a row. Each time, she watched the same pattern repeat itself. Alien cadets would choose formations from their textbooks, follow established tactical doctrine, and lose to enemies, who did exactly what those same textbooks said they would do. "Your problem," said Instructor Captain Veltar during remedial training, "is that you think like a Deathworlder. You see warfare as chaos. Here, we study war as science." Maya stood at attention in the empty simulation room, her uniform crisp, despite feeling like she hadn't slept in days. Captain Veltar was an aquatic benthic, his transparent suit filled with blue-green water that swirled when he moved. "With respect, sir, science should include learning from failure," Maya said carefully. "Indeed it should, which is why you are here for additional instruction." Captain Veltar activated the wall display, showing fleet formations from famous, historical battles. "Tell me what you see." Maya studied the patterns. "Standard attack wedges, defensive spheres, pincer movements. Everything follows mathematical principles for maximum firepower distribution." "Exactly. Warfare is mathematics, force ratios, weapons ranges, shield capacities. When both sides understand these principles, victory goes to whoever applies them most efficiently. But what if one side doesn't follow the principles?" Captain Veltar's suit bubbled with what might have been amusement. "Then they lose, Cadet Rodriguez. These principles exist because they work. Your species may have survived through random violence, but in space warfare, randomness means death." That afternoon, Maya sat alone in the cafeteria, picking at something that might have been vegetables from a dozen different worlds. Kyle and Lisa had found seats with a group of alien cadets trying to fit in with the social structure of the academy. "Mind if I sit here?" Maya looked up to see a Vorthak cadet she didn't recognize. Unlike the others of his species, this one's crystal structure was cloudy rather than clear, and smaller than the noble-bred cadets like Crystalex. "Sure," Maya said. "I'm Maya Dexmore. I'm from the outer colonies, not the core worlds." He settled, his crystal form onto the bench with a musical chime. "I watched your simulation yesterday," Maya groaned. Which spectacular failure was that? The one where you suggested using asteroid fields for cover? Your team leader called it undignified hiding? Yeah, well, apparently dignity is more important than survival around here. Dexmoor's crystal body flickered with colored lights. On my world, we mine asteroids for a living. Navigating rock fields isn't hiding, it's using your environment. Try telling that to Admiral Threndox. The Academy teaches one way to fight, Dexmoor said quietly. The way that worked for the founding species when they conquered the galaxy. But what happens when that way stops working? Before Maya could answer, an announcement echoed through the cafeteria. All second-year cadets report to Competition Bay Alpha. The Crucible begins in 1 hour. Maya watched as older cadets throughout the cafeteria stood up with expressions of excitement and nervous energy. The Crucible was the Academy's most famous war game, where second-year cadets commanded mixed fleets in complex scenarios. "Want to watch?" Dexmoor asked. "Might learn something." They made their way to the observation deck overlooking Competition Bay Alpha. Hundreds of cadets filled the viewing area, watching as 12 teams prepared for battle in the simulation chamber below. The scenario appeared on the main display. Capture and hold the mining station at Kepler's Edge against defending forces. The attacking teams had equal strength, but the defenders had fortified positions and supply advantages. Maya watched as team after team launched textbook assaults. They formed up in standard attack formations, conducted preliminary bombardments to soften defenses, then moved in with overwhelming force. Some succeeded through superior firepower, others failed when their formations broke under defensive fire. But every single team attacked the same way. "They're all reading from the same playbook," Maya muttered. "Because it's the only playbook they know," Dexmoor replied. On the 11th team's turn, Maya watched something different. The team leader, a senior benthic cadet named Aqualon, tried a more creative approach. Instead of a direct assault, his team split into 3 groups and attacked from multiple angles. It almost worked. The defenders were forced to split their fire, and Aqualon's team managed to establish a foothold on the station. But when the defenders adapted and concentrated their forces, the attack still followed predictable patterns. The result was the same: defeat. "Interesting attempt," commented Admiral Threndox from the instructor's platform. "However, dividing one's forces is fundamentally unsound. Concentration of force remains the key principle of successful warfare." The final team took their positions. Maya recognized their leader as Commander Kalathi, one of the top cadets in the Academy. Her reputation was legendary among the first years. Maya expected another textbook assault, but Kalathi surprised everyone. Her team approached the station, then suddenly stopped just outside weapons range. They held position for Aidiao, long minutes, doing nothing. The defending team waited, unsure how to respond to an enemy that wasn't attacking. Tension built in the observation deck as cadets whispered among themselves. Then Kalathi's team began a slow, methodical advance, staying just outside the defenders' optimal firing range. They took their time, probing for weaknesses, forcing the defenders to maintain high alert for extended periods. "Psychological warfare," Dexmoor observed, making the defenders stress themselves while conserving her own team's energy. When Kalathi finally attacked, it was with perfect timing and coordination. Her team struck at the exact moment when defender fatigue was highest, exploiting a tiny gap in their formation that had opened due to exhaustion. The attack succeeded brilliantly. The observation deck erupted in applause. "Excellent demonstration," Admiral Threndox announced. "Commander Kalathi shows how patience and psychological pressure can multiply force effectiveness. This is warfare as art, not mere violence. But Maya frowned as she watched the replay. Kalathi's strategy had been elegant and effective, but it relied on the defenders acting predictably. They had waited in formation exactly as doctrine suggested, maintaining alert status according to regulations. What if the defenders had done something unexpected? What if they had abandoned their positions and attacked while Kalathi's team was still approaching? What if they had used the waiting time to set traps or relocate their forces? The thought bothered Maya through her evening classes and into the night. She lay in her bunk thinking about the patterns she had seen. Every successful strategy at the academy worked because both sides followed the same basic rules. Even Kalathi's brilliant victory had depended on her enemies acting according to established doctrine. On Earth, that kind of predictability would get you killed. The next morning brought news that changed everything. Maya's tactical analysis class was interrupted by an emergency announcement. All first-year cadets report to Assembly Hall immediately. Special assignment briefing. The hall buzzed with excitement as hundreds of young cadets filled the seats. Commandant Vexhai took the stage, his crystal form reflecting the lights in serious patterns. Due to exceptional circumstances, first-year cadets will participate in this semester's Crucible competition. You will be organized into mixed teams and given the same scenarios as second-year cadets. Excited murmurs filled the hall. This was unprecedented. However, the Commandant continued, your performance will be evaluated differently. You are not expected to succeed where second years have failed. This is a learning experience only. Maya felt her pulse quicken, a real chance to test her ideas. In actual competition, team assignments will be posted within the hour. You have 2 days to prepare. The competition begins Monday. As cadets filed out of the assembly hall, Maya caught up with Dexmore in the corridor. Want to be on the same team? She asked. If we're lucky enough to get assigned together, he replied. Though I should warn you, my people don't exactly have a reputation for military genius. Neither do mine, Maya said with a grin. Maybe that's what we need. An hour later, Maya stared at the team assignment board with mixed feelings. She was assigned to Team 7 with Dexmore, which was good news. She was also assigned with Chrysotalex, the arrogant Vorthak noble who had dismissed her ideas from day on. The other team members included Lisa Park, a senior Zephyrian cadet named Zephyron, and 2 species Maya didn't recognize. Their first team meeting was scheduled for that afternoon. Maya spent the intervening time in the Academy's tactical library, studying everything she could find about unconventional warfare. Most of the material was historical, covering conflicts from before the current galactic military doctrine was established. Maya found references to strategies that modern tacticians considered obsolete: ambush tactics, false retreats, deception operations, asymmetric warfare. The authors of these historical accounts all concluded the same thing. Such methods belonged to a more primitive era of warfare. Modern conflicts between civilized species required honor, predictability, and adherence to established military law. But as Maya read deeper, she began to see something the modern tacticians had missed. Every one of these obsolete strategies had worked. Maya Rodriguez pressed her face against the transport ship window and watched the massive space station grow larger in the darkness. Zenith Station looked like a small moon made of metal and glass, spinning slowly against the stars. Thousands of lights blinked across its surface, and ships moved in and out like busy insects around a hive. "First time seeing the Academy?" asked the pilot, a blue-skinned alien with 4 arms. His English was good, but had a strange musical quality. "Yes, sir," Maya replied. She tried to keep her voice steady, but her heart was beating fast. 3 years of training on Earth had led to this moment. Out of millions of applicants from her home planet, only 3 humans had been accepted this cycle. The pilot laughed, a sound like wind chimes. "Don't be nervous, little Deathworlder. The Academy breaks everyone equally." Maya had heard that word before, Deathworlder. It was what the other species called humans. Earth was classified as a Class 12 death world, meaning it was one of the most dangerous planets in known space. Everything on Earth wanted to kill everything else, according to galactic standards. Humans had evolved to survive in this chaos, making them tough but supposedly primitive. The transport docked with a soft thud, and Maya gathered her single bag. She walked through the airlock and into a corridor that seemed to stretch forever. Other new cadets moved past her, and Maya tried not to stare. She saw beings that looked like walking crystals, others that seemed to be made of liquid metal, and some that floated instead of walked. "Human cadets report to Base 7, announced a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Maya followed the signs through corridors filled with alien writing and symbols she couldn't read. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth, normal, making each step feel like a small bounce. She found Bay 7 and saw 2 other humans waiting. "You must be Maya Rodriguez," said a tall young man with blonde hair. "I'm Kyle Morrison from the European Alliance. This is Lisa Park from the Asian Coalition." Lisa was shorter than Maya, with dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. She nodded politely, but seemed nervous. Kyle looked confident, like he belonged. "Here, South American Federation," Maya said, shaking their hands. "Glad to see some familiar faces." "Familiar is relative," Kyle said, looking around at the alien cadets. "We're definitely the minority here." A massive figure approached them, easily 3 meters tall and made of what looked like living crystal. When it spoke, its voice sounded like glass breaking in harmony. "Human cadets, I am Commandant Vexhai. You will follow me to orientation." They walked through more corridors, past rooms filled with equipment Maya had never seen before. Other cadets stopped their conversations to stare at the humans. Some looked curious, others seemed dismissive. The orientation hall was enormous, with seats arranged in a complex pattern that accommodated dozens of different body types. Maya found herself sitting between a being that looked like a metallic spider and another that seemed to be made of flowing water held in a transparent suit. Commandant Vexhai stood at the front of the hall, his crystal body reflecting the lights in rainbow patterns. "Welcome to the Galactic Naval Academy. You represent the finest tactical minds from 12 species across known space. Here you will learn the art of warfare as practiced by civilized beings." The Commandant's gaze seemed to linger on the human section. "Some of you come from what we call death worlds. Your species has survived through violence and chaos. While this makes you physically resilient, you must learn that true warfare is an art form. It requires discipline, honor, and adherence to the accepted principles of civilized combat." Maya felt her cheeks burn. She knew the speech was directed at humans, even though the Commandant didn't say so directly. "Your first assignment will be a tactical simulation. You will be divided into mixed teams to assess your natural abilities." After the orientation, Maya found herself assigned to Simulation Room 12. Her team included Kyle, 2 crystalline Vorthak cadets, a Zephyrian hive mind representative, and 3 others she couldn't identify by species. The simulation instructor, was Admiral Threndox, a Zephyrian whose body seemed to shift and flow like liquid mercury. When he spoke, multiple voices harmonized together. "Your scenario is simple," Admiral Threndox announced. "Defend Outpost Gamma against an attacking fleet. You have standard defensive platforms and a small patrol squadron. The enemy outnumbers you 3-1. You have 30 minutes to plan your strategy." The other cadets immediately began discussing formations and weapon placements. One of the Vorthak cadets, who introduced himself as Kristalex, took charge naturally. "We establish a defensive perimeter here," Kristalex said, pointing to the tactical display. "Maximum firepower concentration. Meet them head-on with everything." "We have." "Agreed," said the Zephyrian cadet. "Honor demands we face the enemy directly. A fighting retreat to draw them into kill zones." Maya studied the scenario data on her tablet. The enemy was using standard attack formations from the Galactic Military Handbook. Their approach was predictable, following established tactical doctrine. "What if we don't fight them where they expect?" Maya asked. The planning stopped. Everyone looked at her. "Explain," said Kristalex, his crystal body flashing with what Maya thought might be impatience. "The enemy is expecting us to defend the outpost directly," Maya said. "But what if we make them think we're abandoning it? Let them commit to an assault, then hit them from behind when they're focused on the empty base." "That would be deception," said the Zephyrian cadet, sounding shocked. "Honorable warriors do not use tricks and lies." "But it would work," Maya insisted. "They're following standard attack procedures. If we do something unexpected—" "Enough," Kristalex interrupted. "We use proven tactics. Deathworlder thinking has no place in civilized warfare." Kyle and Lisa said nothing. Maya could see they didn't want to cause trouble on their first day. The simulation began, and Maya watched their carefully planned defense crumble exactly as she had predicted. The enemy fleet overwhelmed their positions with superior numbers, just as any competent tactician would expect. Their team lasted 18 minutes before the outpost was destroyed. Admiral Threndox's multiple voices filled the simulation room. "Adequate performance for first-year cadets. Your defensive positioning was textbook correct. Unfortunately, textbook correct is not always sufficient against superior forces." After the other cadets filed out, Admiral Threndox approached Maya. "Cadet Rodriguez, your suggestion during planning was noted." "Yes, sir. Such tactics might work on your chaotic home world, but here we study the art of war, not the brutality of survival. Deception and trickery are the tools of barbarians. You would do well to learn from your more civilized classmates." Maya felt her face flush again, but she kept her voice level. "Understood, sir." That evening in the human dormitory section, Kyle shook his head at Maya. "You've got to be more careful. We're already seen as primitives. Don't make it worse by suggesting we fight dirty." "I wasn't suggesting we fight dirty," Maya replied. "I was suggesting we fight smart." "Same thing to them," Lisa said quietly. "Maybe Kyle's right. We should try to fit in." Maya looked out the dormitory window at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there was Earth, with its endless wars and chaos. Humans had learned to survive by adapting, by thinking differently, by refusing to follow rules that got them killed. But here, surrounded by species that had perfected warfare into an art form, Maya wondered if being different was a weakness, rather than a strength. The Academy had been training galactic military officers for centuries. Every great tactical mind in known space had studied here. Maybe the aliens were right. Maybe there was a better way to fight than the brutal, chaotic methods humans had developed on their death world. But as Maya drifted off to sleep, she couldn't shake the feeling that 18 minutes was far too short for any battle to last, and that predictability might be the greatest weakness of all.